I want to start by showing, so in Greer's talk, she mentioned civic engagement beyond voting a couple of times. This is the website, and when you go to the website and you click on about learning RTS, I wanted to do, I'm kind of cheating a little bit here, but there's a video that they made. It's fairly quick, and then we'll look at some actual, doing some things in Request to Speak. But I like this because it was short and it really kind of covered everything. So, Maura, if you want to play that?
Welcome. This video will help you learn to use Arizona's Request to Speak system, or RTS. RTS is the Arizona Legislature's own tool for tracking bills. It's an easy way to get involved in state politics, to stay informed on proposed legislation, and to give state legislators your feedback. Despite the name, you don't actually have to speak in person. Once you sign up, you can be an armchair activist and weigh in on bills from the comfort of your own home. The first step is to get signed up. RTS accounts can only be set up at the Capitol. If you don't have an account, visit cebv.us/RTS, and Civic Engagement Beyond Voting will create one for you. Once you have an account, you'll need to sign in. Go to apps.azleg.gov. Click Sign On in the upper right corner and enter your email and password. The system has two parts: Request to Speak and Bill Status Inquiry. You can always find these two options under Applications in the upper right corner next to your name. The black column on the left tells you where you are. Bill Status Inquiry is handy for figuring out the status of a bill. Choose Agendas to get a list of bills on a particular committee's agenda or calendar to see which bills are coming up for a group vote. Or use the search function to get other types of lists: bills sponsored by a certain lawmaker, bills matching a certain keyword, or bills that have been signed by the governor and are headed to become law. But since we want to use RTS today, let's choose the Request to Speak side. To enter your RTS position on a bill, look in the black bar to the left and select New Request. This brings up a new screen. Type the bill number in the box and select Search. You don't have to include SB or HB. Just the numbers. This will show your selected bill. Remember, this system is used to comment on bills being heard in committee, so bills will only show up here if they are on a committee agenda. If the bill doesn't show up, it means it either hasn't been scheduled to be heard by a committee or its committee hearing has passed. This bill has a committee hearing coming up. You can see the committee name, where that committee meets, and the date the bill will be on the agenda. Click Add Request. Select whether you're for, neutral, or against. We're for this bill. Then answer the question, do you want to speak? This is asking whether you plan to attend the committee hearing and speak in person about the bill. Choose yes, no, or if necessary. You must answer this question or your RTS may not go through. If you'd like, you can also add a public comment on the bill to explain your position. Legislators sometimes read these comments out loud during committee hearings, so don't type anything here that you wouldn't also say in other very public spaces, like in a courtroom or while talking to a reporter. Want to keep track of what you said for later? The RTS system has a place for you to make notes for yourself, personal comments that your lawmakers can't see. Making personal comments is helpful because a bill that becomes law will move through multiple committees, and the public comments you make will stay with this specific committee. If you choose to RTS on a bill again later for another committee, these personal comments can help you keep track of what you've said. Once you're done writing your comments, just hit Submit and you're done. You can update or delete your requests from this screen. If you want to add another request for a different bill, just go back and select New Request, then follow these steps again. The RTS system can also generate notifications for you when bills move. Use the Personal Progress link on the Bill Status Inquiry side to create your own lists. For example, education. That way, the next time you log in, you'll be able to see at a glance what's changed for the bills you care about. Before you leave RTS, make sure you are identified as a registered voter. We can't do this step for you, so this is especially important if it's your first time using Request to Speak. Go to Account Management and click Update Personal Information. Look for the question, do you wish to identify as an Arizona registered voter? And click Yes. You'll need your date of birth and another piece of information, which can be your voter ID, your Arizona driver's license number, or the last 4 digits of your social security number. If you'd like to learn more about Arizona's Request to Speak system, visit visit cebv.us. There, you can request an RTS account, learn how to track bills, sign up for informative emails during session, attend in-person trainings, and so much more. The Arizona State Constitution says all political power is inherent in the people. Using RTS is just one of many ways that we as citizens can ask our elected officials to honor the wishes of us, their constituents. Thanks for using your voice. It matters.
Okay, that was pretty fast, right? Did you follow it all? Anyway, that's kind of a good overview because as you can see, there really is a lot to the request to speak system. But there's a couple of simple things to remember and to be able to voice your opinion very frequently down at the Capitol. How many of you have an RTS account? Well, that's great. Okay, and how many of you that don't have an RTS account are going to get one right away? Yay. So when you get an account, one of the things, so you can actually go to Civic Engagement Beyond Voting and sign up and they will get an account for you. There's one thing about an account is somebody has to go to a kiosk, either at the Capitol in Phoenix or to the county recorders, or I'm not sure where it is down here. The state office. And go to the kiosk and actually sign in. Once you do that once, everything else you do on Request to Speak, you can do anywhere, online. So you can do it from home. You can, and many people do that. I think it was Greer who said every Monday morning that she sat down with her newsletter and when the legislature was in session in 2017, at least when those were in committees. You guys, everyone got a picture of this document, right? And so, there's a lot of things that happen when a bill is there. And if you do lose your copy of this or you want to share this with someone, this is on the Civic Engagement Beyond Voting website. So it's easy if you ever want to get another one. They also have a nice flow chart for budget documents too that is kind of interesting. But I want to bring your attention, so Greer talked about this, and I just want to take one more opportunity to say, right there about in the middle where it says comment with RTS. That is the bills kind of go through, they get assigned to committee, and once it's scheduled for committee, that's when you can comment on it up until the committee votes. So there's always this small window where you can say, yes, I support, or no, I oppose, and that's when it's in a committee. But every bill goes to around 3 committees. It depends on the bill, but typically it's 3 committees. So typically you have 3 times. If it's a bill that you're watching very closely and you catch those committees, you can actually comment on it multiple times. And in the video you saw that in each committee, you would want to put the comments, add the comments again, in the hopes that they would be read out when that committee, because it's going to be different committee members every time. There's a number of other steps, and those are all important. But RTS, Request to Speak, is when it becomes part of the permanent record. And that is so valuable, and it becomes part of that record, like I said, for every single committee. So that's great. Other times you can call legislators. So if you missed an opportunity to speak on a bill, you want to call your legislator or you want to call a legislator. Calling is good. Some legislators deal with email fairly well and some don't. So if it's a legislator you might know how they prefer. One of the things that one of the legislators told me is that when the assistants take those calls, they actually tally them up. And some legislators never even look at the emails. So that's my bias. I really encourage you to always call and make sure, if it's not something that you can voice your opinion on RTS, when you call, then it'll be tallied up. It's not as good. RTS, I think, is like the golden rule, because that's when it becomes part of the permanent record. So can we go to the next? This is an email. So when you go to Civic Engagement Beyond Voting, one of the things that you can do, and I know Greer talked about that in her handout, is you can sign up for that newsletter. The one from from Ann Schneider, the second one, those yeah, UJazz, is also very good. But this is an example of an email that came when I signed up for the email list on civic engagement beyond voting. And as you'll see, after that nice quote, it says, here is your link to Melinda Ayer's Legislature Weekly for the first week of 2019 legislative session. So if you click on the next, the link will take you to, this is the Google document for the first week. And as you'll see, I mean, there's a lot of information in the beginning, and if you kind of scroll down a little bit, yeah, go ahead. I mean, there's top issues, there's commentary, you can see there's quite a few links. So when there's something that you're interested in, you can go and click on those links and get more information. And she puts really nice little graphics and reminders. And then she taught, there's, the session dates to remember, keep going down. There's a lot of information. A lot of us, though, once we get it a few times, remember, some people are seeing this for the first time, so there's going to be a lot of information there. But when you get into the section where there's actually talking about the bills, it'll be identified that often if they've gone to committee or not. And as you can see, like on almost all of them, the HB 2001, except for HB 2015 at the very bottom of the screen, that one isn't a link, but I noticed that a lot of the links go to Capital Times, they'll go to different information about the bill and commentary. There's a whole section on the House bills. They're always HB 2 something something something, and then the Senate bills are SB 1 something something something. And so if you have time, like you can kind of zoom into the area that you're most interested in, or you can go through some of these. In my legislative district, we use a communications platform called Slack, and we had a guy last year who would go through, read this, and just do a simple, put the bill number and the up or down. And so for people who had seen it for a while and knew that it really was along the lines of the way that they thought, once they felt really comfortable with that, then they would just get that list and they could, boom, jump onto RTS, and I do this sometimes too, and just jump onto RTS and go, put in the bill number and then up or down. Okay, so let's go. So this is when you go to azleg.gov. Anybody ever been to this website before? I hope you have. Good. So there's a request to speak, and I think, go ahead and click. So right here. And then just click on. And you'll see there was a link for request to speak. And so hopefully if you've been to azleg.gov before, I mean, you can look up any legislator's information, committee information, but you can also access request to speak. And so this is, I've already signed in. Typically, it depends, if you're using your computer and you've saved your password. So I've signed in here, and you can see over on the left in the video that we're being shown, if you look at my requests, I have no requests, but that's where you would go and see the requests that you have. And then below that, I'm looking at the left menu and click a new request. Actually, I'm going to, I think, what I want you to do is to click on the next screen. I kind of tried to set this up because I knew we'd be running late and I thought you might have some questions. So, Mara, could you scroll back up? So this is the Finance Committee. I went into the Finance Committee and looked at the agenda. And so SB 1010 is in the committee. It has to do with Arizona ASRS, Arizona State Retirement System, I believe it is. And if you scroll down, you can see where people have gone into RTS and they've said they're for or against it. You can see where they've put their comments. It only has the first part of their comment, but you can click on it and read the whole comment. And you can see towards the end when she showed where you go in and you say that you're a registered voter, voters get on and use this system. Before we all woke up and really started using this system, the lobbyists used to use it a lot. And so the lobbyists have to register, and so that's why you'll see things like representing an organization that would be a lobbyist or somebody that is officially representing that organization. I think it's on the next screen.
Is that what that icon means too?
Oh, go ahead.
Well, it's also the all
See the blue icon?
Yes, I believe, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, lobbyists, thank you.
But also the all caps is also a way you'll know that usually that's.
Yeah.
So all caps. I think the one like K. Reardon, I believe that the one that's got the check mark, that's where somebody has gone into their profile and said, I'm a registered voter. Because, you know, sometimes we have high school students, we have spouses that are not registered voters. You don't have to be a registered voter to use this system. So, you know, but it's really, your voice carries a little bit more weight when you definitely say that you're a registered voter, so. Okay. And so this is, there's another way that you can go in and look at the view, and you can actually see, here's an example, I think this is 2010 too, and you can see the people that are for and against. And what is really great is when it's a bad law, you will see under against a whole bunch of names. And that's what, when there's bad laws that we need to stop, that's what we want to have happen. And since Civic Engagement Beyond Voting started, and I just know them a little bit better than like you, Jazz, but they've registered like 3,000 people on RTS and have been training and trying to help people use RTS. You'll see when there is a bad bill that most people disagree with, it's phenomenal to see so many people speak out. And when we were in the breakout session, and I mentioned that a legislator told me was telling me that there was a bill that was in committee, and they said, well, can we read the names of all the people that opposed a certain bill? And they did not want to read all of those names in committee, and that was, you know, one example of how a bill actually got shut down. They actually tabled it. I don't remember if they went back and voted on that. Legislators will do iffy things, and sometimes, you know, they can be, I don't want to say manipulated, but impacted by the lobbyists. And because lobbyists have certain power, but we have a lot of power, and especially when we speak out together. And so that's one of the things that we really can do with Request to Speak. And you know, by taking advantage of the resources like Melinda Ayer's newsletter or the UJazz newsletter, and you know, who has time to really study, you know, on all of these bills? But when we know like the worst ones, and we can really speak out and raise our voices together, it really can make a difference. And I wanted to try to finish because I figure you probably have some questions. I know we went kind of quickly through, but once you have your own account, you'll be able to log on and poke around and see some different things. So hopefully I gave you enough to create some interest and a desire to go and check it out. Question?
Did I hear correctly in the very fast video that there's a way, like with a specific bill, that you can put your email address in through RTS once you have an RTS account, and the system will kick you a notification every time?
Yeah, it's not, I don't think you put your email address in. You can go in and set up an alert. And so then when something happens with that bill, you get notified. So you're not, someone else isn't, I mean, you're not giving your email address to anyone. It's in your profile, and the system emails you or, you know, contacts you and notifies you.
Like if HB 100 moves into committee such and such, it'll email you the moment it goes.
Yeah, I haven't used that a lot, and so I don't know the limitations of it, but yeah, essentially that's what it is. And yeah, so when there's a change in the status. Yeah.
One thing that I think I understood someone to say is that when there is one of these strike all amendments, say it was, let's just use our term of, you know, HB 2068 about the onions for the cows, right? when the strike all amendment, which is to replace the language, goes in, maybe you thought that that cow bill was really great. Well, your comments are going to stay with HB 2068. And so when all of a sudden there's the striker language in it, you're still there with an enthusiastic thumbs up. So you want to pay attention on these legislative alerts, that when a striker comes in, go in and find out whether you commented on that before. And that's when you were saying you can change your thing to
You
up
can
or
change
down
it, you can
or neutral
delete
and
it,
delete
yeah.
it. But you want to be careful with strike-alls that you don't have these, this is
I'll tell
great.
you, those strikers, I'm
I'm going to
we
get
do,
to the bottom
yes,
of
yes,
this.
we do need to find out, like, where that came from, but I'll tell you, when we decided that we were gonna do a referendum on SB 1431 to stop the voucher expansion, one of the things that we were worried about was, and we could have started collecting signatures just a little bit earlier, because we had made the decision, but we were concerned, we were hearing, and we had a great attorney, and we were hearing that no, I guess, I'm sorry, it was last year actually, they were considering doing a striker. They were going to repeal SB 1431 and do a striker, and they could have done that. They can do that at any time. Those striker bills are really horrible, and I think when we get the right people in the legislature, we should make sure, so you have to find out, Greer, exactly what the story is, and then we should take away that ability, because I just think that's unreal and unfair. Any other questions? Yeah.
I've got a quick question about naming convention. If a bill originates in the House, let's call it the HB 2123, and it passes the House, and then it goes to the Senate, do they create a new bill number? So what is it?
It would still be HB 2123, and it would go through the Senate committees.
Ah, okay.
And so you would still look up HB 2123 to make the comments.
Okay.
The only time that doesn't happen is when it's being fast-tracked, when you have, when they create kind of like duplicate bills in each
Okay.
chamber.
Okay. And a bill can also originate in the Senate, I'm assuming, and then it would go to the House.
They do. Every bill has to go to both houses. I mean, they have to go through each chamber. When they do a fast track, if it gets amended, if either one gets amended, then they have to, there's some process where they have to make provisions for that, if it passed with.
And this is how the budget passed in a day, because that's when all the Democrats got up and started making all these amendments, which they couldn't possibly accept them, because they couldn't change the language, because if they wanted to get this budget passed, not one word could change in either the House or the Senate bill. So that was a little political theater.
Yeah. Fortunately, there was a lot of people there last year to watch them. We got to keep that up. Thank you very much. And if you think of any other questions,